Hi there, I'm Blackbright. So good morning, good afternoon, good night. I tend to talk about subjects that I think open debate. And I like to think that I've not really opened a can of worms, but I like to look at different sides of the story. I don't like taking things for granted. And a lot of times when people go into situations, they take a lot for granted. So I just like to open their eyes a little bit and their ears a little bit, just so that they can have food for thought. Today I'm going to be talking about moral character. I'm talking about moral character because it's one of those things that when people apply for an indefinite leave to remain or permanent residence, as in the United States, they don't really think, I think they underestimate what moral character really is. I think they think that providing you're not a criminal, you haven't done a robbery and you haven't done a murder, you haven't raped anyone, you're not involved in human trafficking, you haven't smuggled anyone in the country. I think they more or less think, oh yeah, I'm all right, Jack. I'll get through. Let me concentrate on the 10 years or 5 years, whatever the qualifying period is. And as long as I can do that, and as long as I don't have any criminal convictions, I'm fine. But this moral character thing, it's got a lot to do with, can you be trusted in the country? And little things that you might have done and you might not have really paid much attention to them can count when you're completing that immigration form. When you're looking to stay in the country, any misdemeanor can count if it involves deception. You know, because sometimes you'll complete a form. Say, for example, you're completing an immigration form and you say you're going to stay with your sister. But really, your sister isn't in the country, or you're not really staying with your sister, you're staying with a friend. But you think that by staying with your sister, it sounds better. So you put you're staying with your sister on the form. And then you might get through, you might not get through, but they go and verify the address that you've given, the name that you've given, and they find out that there's no one of that name living in that address. You've done yourself a disservice because you will not get in because you were trying to be deceitful. Similarly, if you've been driving while under the influence and you got stopped, I mean, if it's just once, they might let you off. But if it's 3 or 4 times, you know, and you don't disclose that, that's deception. Though even in America, not England, because in England we don't really have, well, we do have child support, but not so strong as it is in America. But in America, from the time you got your green card, so supposing you're going for naturalization now. So from the time you got your green card, say it was on the 5th of September 1989. That's a bit of exaggeration, no. Let's say it was on the 5th of December 1999. Yeah, 5th of December 1999. You're going to apply for your green card. Well, you've got your green card and you want to apply for your residence, your permanent residence in the year 2000, or your naturalization. From that period, that 10 years ago or 5 years ago, from that moment you got your green card, or as in the UK, that is called your qualifying period. So that period that you have been legally in the country and for what you are basing your claim for permanency on, you have to have had a clean record the whole period. And I'm saying this because, you know, for some, especially a lot of men, they might not have paid child support. Did you know that in America, if you haven't paid child support during that qualifying period, or there are any arrears, that can stop you? that comes under a breach in moral character. That can stop you from getting your permanent residence. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that moral character is about being honest. It's about being correct in all your doings. It's only for the period of the qualifying period though. So you could have been wayward before that time, and you could be wayward after that time. I'm not encouraging that. I'm not saying that you should, but for that qualifying period, you have to be squeaky clean. So, you know, false testimony on the forms. You cannot write anything wrong. And then, you know what some people do? They might get somebody else to complete the form for them, and they can't be bothered to read it. They rely on that person to complete the form, and then they sign it. That's called reckless signing, because you are responsible for what's on that form, whether you agreed with it or not. As long as you signed it, you are now responsible for the content of that form. And if you don't know what's on it, or if you don't know what that person put on it, you're up the creek without a paddle. It's all to do with moral turpitude. You have to be correct. So there are certain things that if you've done, you don't stand a chance in hell of getting it in. That's, like I said, murder, aggravated robbery, trafficking, rape, all of those things, terrorism, anything like that. You don't even bother to apply. But the thing is that even what seems like minor offences can impact you, only because it's showing that you do not have good moral character. Because if you think about it, you might think, oh, well, I didn't have money to pay my kids' child support, so therefore I didn't pay it. Or my woman wouldn't let me see the kids, so I didn't pay it. And then you got yourself in arrears. But in the eyes of the law or the immigration office, they see that as neglect. They see that as you not standing up to your responsibilities for your children. That's how they perceive that. If you lie on the form, they perceive that as you not being trusted. You can't be trusted. You're deceitful. If you omit something on the form, it's the same thing. So yeah, moral character, it's a good one. And I mean, even Christians might not even pass it. I mean, a lot of Christians think they're holier than thou, and they think, oh, well, I go to church on Sundays and I speak the truth. But I bet you, when they're cornered, they'll put something on that form that, to get them out of the trouble, or they think it might get them into the country. A lot of people do that. They have this lapse. They panic and they write something, or they include something that they shouldn't have included, or they exclude something that they should have included because they think it might jeopardize their application. So that's what moral character is. I hope it makes some sense, and I hope if you are going for your permanent residence or your indefinite leave to remain, you bear these things in mind. What a good character or moral character means. No lying, no deceit, no lying by omission. Because some people do that. They say, oh, I didn't lie. I just didn't mention it. None of that. It's all included. And that's all. Bye for now. Bye-bye.